Muted.
See my screen now. So today, as I said, we're going to be talking about Raise the Dough. So first, I'm just going to go over and explain some logistics about Raise the Dough, and then we're going to be hearing from our guest speaker and social engagement expert, Justin Kolikoff, and then we'll be hearing from some campus kitchens on their best practices for Raise the Dough. Okay, so what is Raise the Dough Challenge? So Raise the Dough is an online fundraising competition between all campus kitchens to see who can raise the most money to support their hunger fighting efforts. So Raise the Dough takes place from February 19th to 26th. That's a Friday to Friday. It's 7 days. It starts at 12:01 a.m. on the 19th and ends at 11:59 p.m. on the 26th. So the most successful fundraisers will win prizes, which we're going to talk about a little bit later. And some of you might want to know, like, why compete? Like, what's the point of doing Raise the Dough? It's a great opportunity to raise money to buy anything your kitchen needs, any kind of supplies. It's also a great opportunity to fund, like, your trip to the Food Waste and Hunger Summit, which is in April, or maybe to boot camp in August. So there's lots of ways you can use the funds that you raise, and we're trying to encourage everyone to participate. So we want all of our campus kitchens to participate. So Raise the Dough is an online fundraiser, like I said. So we use Razoo, which is an online fundraising platform, and it's kind of focused on crowdsourcing. So this is what our Raise the Dough page looks like for the 2016 challenge. So I created this. So here you can see the leaderboard, and these are our 5 nationally staffed schools. I went ahead and made their Razoo pages. And so each Razoo page fundraises on behalf of a team, which is the Campus Kitchens project. We're the team, and each page is like a team member. So here's the leaderboard, which shows the teams leading in their donations. Obviously, it hasn't started yet, so everyone's at 0, and it also shows how many donors that each Campus Kitchen has. Up here you'll see the countdown. So this is how many days, this is a screenshot, so this isn't entirely accurate, but this is how many days till Raise the Dough starts. And then when the competition actually starts on the 19th, it'll be a countdown to when the competition ends. So the great thing about Razoo is it's, like I said, it's based on crowdsourcing. So this is our team page, and the team members, which are you guys, Campus Kitchens, and their pages fundraise on behalf of one team or a cause. So Raise the Dough is the cause, and Campus Kitchens Project is the team. Another great thing about Razoo is it automatically sends thank you emails. So I don't have an example here, and we're going to talk about this in a little bit, but you can customize your thank you emails so that they can be very specific to your audiences and to the people that donated. So this is what the Raise the Dough page looked like in 2015. So the competition's obviously over. So this is the final leaderboard. And as you can see, we raised almost $56,000, which is really awesome and a great goal. And we had 929 donors. So it's going to be really exciting to see if we can beat that this year. And a lot of you, I know, when filling out your SurveyMonkey, when registering for this webinar, asked, well, how do we get the money? Like, where does the money go? So at the end of the competition, the money comes from Razoo to CKP to the national office, and then we distribute it out to each campus kitchen. So you don't actually have to worry about any of that. We take care of all of that for you. So still on Razoo here, now we're going to look at some individual donor pages. So this one is from a couple years ago. It's the Campus Kitchen at Gettysburg College, and this is their fundraising page. And I picked this one just because I wanted to kind of highlight. It's a great example of what you kind of want your page to look like. So first, I'm going to make all of the pages for the Campus Kitchen, so you don't have to worry about setting them up. I'll do that, but then your job is to customize it. So this page for Gettysburg is very well customized. So first, when I make the page, it'll say raise the dough for, up here at the top, whichever Campus Kitchen you are, and then it'll say the Campus Kitchen's name and fundraising for the team. So that's the Campus Kitchens Project, Inc. And then you can customize it down here. So you can add a picture and you can add some text about what you're fundraising for. So Gettysburg was fundraising for their Healthy Options program. So they have a picture from that program. They have a little bit explaining about the program. And then over here, which is really important, they have these donation levels, which are different amounts that donors can give to help the program, and it explicitly says what that amount of money will do and can do for the program in the Campus Kitchen. And then up here they have their goal. All right, so Raise the Dough is pretty easy. We try and make it as easy for you guys as we can because we want to encourage participation. So we want everyone to feel like they can participate and it's not going to be a huge burden. So CKP, I'll tell you everything that we do. CKP, like I said, we set up your fundraising page on Razoo. We also take care of administrative fees. So Razoo charges an administrative fee, and then CKP charges just a little bit more on top of that to cover the Razoo costs, and then some additional fees from our office for managing the fundraiser. So all of this is covered in the MOU, which I will also get to in a little bit. CKP, the national office, we also provide sample social media posts, graphics, press releases, and just other helpful fundraising materials for you guys, so you can, you kind of get a good sense of what you're doing and how to do everything. We also help with national promotion. So we're going to be promoting the entire fundraiser during the week of Raise the Dough, and we're going to promote it from a very neutral perspective, so we'll never be picking favorites, but we just want to promote it to our national office because CKP nationally also fundraises. We have our own fundraising page, but really we're trying to encourage you guys to help your Campus Kitchens fundraise, and that's where bulk of the money comes from, is your guys' communities. And then we also provide prizes and as an incentive for the competition. And again, I'm going to talk about the prizes in just a little bit, but we found that fundraisers with prizes are more effective with the competition, and it's a great motivator for you guys to say to your donors, hey, we're $20 away from first place, can you help us get there? And we're also going to be sharing it, like I said, with our larger audiences and our donor pools. So what do you guys have to do? So after I set up the page, we ask that all of you fill out the page with the details and photos like the Gettysburg page I just showed you, and you just want to personalize the text, add donation amounts, and customize that thank you email from Razoo. And then you also want to promote to your audience and to your fans. So for those of you that competed last year, I'm going to be sending out your donor list from the previous year so you can reach out to those people. And for those of you that haven't competed before, maybe this is your first time, you may have other donor bases to think about and other groups that you want to reach out to, and it's a great way to kind of tap into those resources and try and get some donors. You also want to get people excited and you want to compete. So it's like I said, it's a competition. You guys should all be trying to win and get first place. So how much money are we talking about? So this is from last year. Like I said, we raised almost $56,000. Washington, D.C. came in first, Gettysburg, and then St. Peter's. And these were our top donors from last year. We had a total of 929 donors, which is awesome. And then our prizes. So whoever raises the most money, first place gets $1,000, second place gets $500, and third place gets $250. And the most donors gets $750. So the reason why the most donors is actually the second highest prize is because we're asking you to engage a lot of donors. We really want to encourage that because we realize that a large portion of your audience is most likely college students. So we want to encourage you to encourage them, your peers and fellow college students, to just give maybe $10. So $10 is the minimum amount you have to give on Razoo. So it's kind of a great way to say, just this $10 can help us do this. And it's a great way to get lots of people involved. So now we're going to talk about how your Campus Kitchen can actually get involved. So the first and most important thing that you have to do is complete this MOU. It's a Memorandum of Understanding, and that's due February 5th, which is a Friday, and it's a week from tomorrow. And the MOU is up on the pantry, and I'm going to email it out after the webinar, but I'm just going to talk a little bit about some main points so you kind of know exactly what it is. So it states when the competition runs. So like you guys saw that screenshot of the Razoo page, the competition hasn't actually started on Razoo, but as I get the MOUs in, I'm going to be making your pages, and then technically anyone could donate to your page. But we want to make sure to only count the donations made during the official time of the competition. So if someone donates early, that money will still go towards your Campus Kitchen, like you'll still get that money, but it's not going to count towards your Raise the Dough total. So it also states that it can only be online donations. So while you guys can take cash donations during Raise the Dough, again, and those can go straight towards your Campus Kitchen, but they're not going to count for the competition and like your total amount raised. And so CKP, like this is what I just talked about, we're going to take 10% of the funds raised to cover those administrative costs from Razoo, on our end and from Razoo's end. So just the timeline in a little more detail here. So the MOU is due February 5th. It's a week from this Friday, and it must be signed by an authorized Campus Kitchen representative, and you can determine who that is, so who the best representative of your kitchen is. It could be a faculty advisor or the Campus Kitchen president, but you guys can determine that. And if you think February 5th is too soon, or you're unsure if you could get your MOU in by then, or you're having trouble getting a signature, just shoot me an email or contact your PM. We can definitely work with you. I know that's only a week away and it might seem kind of daunting. So just like let us know if you're having difficulty, and we can still get you set up and ready for the competition, but you can turn in your MOU a little bit later if you need that extra time. So what happens after you turn in your MOU? I'm going to be creating your page on Razoo, and if I have your MOU in by the 5th, then I'm going to create all those pages by February 9th, which is a Tuesday. And I make all the pages, just a general template, just has some general language about Raise the Dough, what we're fundraising for, and then I ask that you, like I said earlier, go in and customize everything. So you want to edit the text to tell your compelling story, which Justin's going to talk about in a little bit, our guest speaker. But then you also want to add videos and photos, set your fundraising goal like I outlined, and then those donation levels, those specific ones, and customize your thank yous. Okay, so Raise the Dough on social media. So then, like I said, the national office is going to be promoting this. I'll definitely be promoting it on social media, and we also ask that all of you guys promote it on social media as well. And we use the hashtag RaiseDough, which is really great because then that makes your fundraiser searchable on all of social media. So whenever you're posting on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram, always include that hashtag we will, and we've used it in the past. So whenever someone clicks on that hashtag, even if it's like on a tweet that CKP nationally sends out, then they can still see all of the Campus Kitchen's fundraising. I'm going to be emailing you some sample social media posts and some tips, which you can use or you can adapt or edit them, but we definitely want you guys posting on social media at least once a day, I'd say. And you also, it's really great to prepare some social media posts for groups that you want supporting you or that you'd like to, so like your sponsoring office, alumni networks, even family and friends if you want to pass along some of those social media posts to them and just help them kind of spread the word for you. That's really helpful. And then down here is the link to the competition page, which was that screenshot that I first showed you. And I'm going to send this out a little bit later when your MOU is in, and I'm going to send you some more materials. but I would definitely recommend shortening the link. So in the social media posts that I send everyone, I will automatically shorten that link for you. So you can just use that, or you can use like your own link shortener, like Bitly or Google has a link shortener, kind of whatever you think. But it's always good to do that just because you can add more content with a shorter link. So now we're going to be hearing from Justin, who is the Director of Social Engagement at Meredith Accelerated Marketing, MXM, and he's definitely a social media and communications expert. He's worked with a lot of nonprofits and in issue-based advocacy, so I think he's going to be, it's going to be really great to hear from. And Justin, I'm going to make, you should be able to go ahead whenever you're ready.
Cool. Can you hear me all right?
Yep.
Perfect. Well, thanks so much for having me. I am super happy to be here. It's always a little tough, I think, sometimes to share some best practices because people on social are at different levels of expertise. So for some of you who have a little bit more experience, it might seem a little basic. For others who haven't done fundraising before, hopefully this is really helpful. But I'm trying to keep it maybe 5 to 7 minutes to leave as much time for questions, and I'm happy to take as many as you have. So here's what I thought I would cover off on just to help you guys. Just a little bit of top line advice on framing your content and your messaging. Just a little bit about how to make best use of storytelling and really make the fundraising ask as personal as possible. And then some tactical advice. And I've compiled a slide with, I think, some helpful free or very low-cost resources that might be useful. And I don't know, Tyler, if you're planning on sharing my deck out after, which you're welcome to do, then those links will be available to everybody. So I just wanted to start and say, I've been doing online fundraising off and on for groups, and it's just really uncomfortable to ask people for money. It's tough to get people to open their wallets, and I think for folks who've done this before, it's like you kind of need to hit as many people as possible because not a ton of people go ahead and do it. And so just as a little bit of background, even though it's challenging and daunting, it's done well by a lot of groups, and especially when it comes to hunger and poverty, proportion of online revenue is on the rise. It's up 10% over previous years, so you guys are well positioned in terms of the issues that you're working on to take advantage of this. So just in terms of some advice in general, content best practices, I can't say it enough, it's the most important thing, I think, is be short. So for Facebook posts, I would really keep it to 200 to 250 characters. And it may not seem like a lot, but my favorite little factoid of communications is that the average press release headline is only 90 characters. And so if you think about needing to get the attention of people in a newsroom who are super busy, if you can do that in 90 characters, then you can definitely convey what you need to in 250. For Twitter, even though it allows for 140 characters, you need to max out at 117 if you're including an image in your tweet. And I would encourage, you'll see in a second, for everything to include a visual. For emails, 3 to 4 paragraphs I think is at most. 5 if you've got the most compelling message in the world, but really I would make it to the point, short and sweet. This is who we are, this is what we're doing, this is why we need your help. Again, be visual. Content that includes photos or short video gets stronger engagement. We just see that all the time with our clients in a variety of industries, entertainment for sure, nonprofits absolutely, corporate, it doesn't matter. So make sure you're including visuals in everything you do. I think just in terms of framing your message, I'm sure a lot of you have, but if you haven't, or even if you have, take some time to refine your elevator pitch. It's really important for fundraising to be able to very concisely say what you're doing, who you're serving, and honestly how your donations will help. And I think here it's useful to be specific. So your donation will help us by 35 coolers to feed 100 families, whatever the numbers are. I'd also be careful to make the numbers a little bit more accessible. With some larger groups I've worked with who do hundreds of thousands of dollars in fundraising, they sort of find that when they say, you've helped us reach $500,000, people, even though they know it's a lot of money, it's hard to picture, I think, what you do with that in an instant. So in some ways, when you can say, just giving us the equivalent of a beer, $5, $10, or a couple of beers, really makes people understand like it's not that much money or what can be done with that amount of money, more importantly. So, just think about that a little bit. And then the most important part of this, and I think it's a real challenge, is why does someone need to give you money right now? There's a lot of competition for donations and for people's dollars, and I think potential donors are used to being able to go online, go to some website, click donate whenever they want if they're inclined to give. So what's the urgency? Why do I need to open my wallet right now? I think that's going to just change and depend on your organizations and where you are, but top of mind, if you don't give, 30 families won't be able to eat next week. Something that really makes it time sensitive. Just in terms of storytelling, again, I emphasize this, be visual, but just understand that photos don't always have to be professional quality. Authenticity goes a long way. Some of the most successful things I've worked on have been just soliciting photos from users, and those come in, they're rough iPhone photos. So consider doing that, taking iPhone video of events for your prepping meals or food delivery, pictures of completed baskets of food, whatever it is, just like I said, doesn't have to be the best shot in the world. Highlight individuals and share personal stories. I'll show a couple of examples in a second of, I think, some good posts here, but I know I mentioned to include numbers. I think they are good. I think you should do it, but mix in some things that make it really personal. We're going to feed 150 families isn't necessarily as powerful in the moment as we're going to feed, this kid right here who's struggling. And then don't forget to share success stories to the extent that you have them. We helped this family through a tough time, and now they're doing better. So you can show that when people give money, there really is a long tail there. Don't forget about your volunteers. So personal stories don't just have to be the people you're helping serve, although I think those are obviously important, but people who are donating their time to your orgs, students, anyone who's, even if they just come every once in a while, having their story featured, why it's important to them, and their picture can also go a long way. Can you guys still hear me? Tyler, is it still working?
We can hear you now.
Yeah,
okay.
It's working.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, so just make sure you understand your audience, and I would encourage, to the extent, it's definitely time consuming, but customize your messages to people's experience. So if you're sending a note out to college students, hey, we know 10, 20 bucks is a bunch, but it's really just 4 beers, If you're talking to professors or, friends, family, then maybe tweak that ask a little bit so it speaks more to where they are in life. So, that's just, again, just those little tweaks can make a big difference. And then, it's all well and good for me to tell you to leverage personal stories, but it would be easy to forget. Make sure you have users' permission, especially if you're helping kids. The best intentions in the world, if you use a story someone didn't know you were using and they didn't sign off on, you can get in a lot more trouble than is worth. So, just make sure if you're using photos or referencing folks that you take into account privacy, only use first names, and again, make sure that they're okay with that. Just a couple of quick examples, I think, of ways that this can get framed up, and I think you'll see here, it's very short copy. The one on the left is March of Dimes. It's actually not a fundraising post, but I think is easily turned into one. And I think, it just does a really nice job of showing everything. Like, you don't need the explainer to know that this organization works on, issues relating to infant and premature health, even if you didn't know what March of Dimes was. You get the success story right up front. Here's a kid who survived, and the implication is because of the work of this org. And then it's really easy to say, make other stories like this possible, donate now. So, there's a couple other examples I won't belabor because I want to leave as much time for questions, but they're in this deck. I think Kiva, it's a very personal organization. If folks aren't familiar with that, they provide small loans to people in developing countries so they can open businesses and become self-sustaining. So again, it's a real just all their posts are about empowerment. Here's a guy that we helped or who you can support who's looking to do this specific thing, and people can really see how their dollar goes towards that. A couple of other quick examples. Komen Race for the Cure, again, a low number. Like, I know what 1,000 women looks like. I don't necessarily know what 10 million women look like. I mean, I'm saying it at kind of a high level. So it just makes it a little bit more accessible. American Cancer Society, again, even though they kind of had a bigger thing and they're selling shoes and it's, not the kind of fundraising that's necessarily going to happen here, I just think the post did a nice job of tying everything together, a success story, this little girl, I can see what she loves. I can see there's people who want to support her. Nice use of a hashtag, Lace Up for Lacey. So again, just a few examples, and I would encourage everybody to just look at organizations that you like and support and check out what they're saying and then adapt some of those things. Especially with these larger groups, the real benefit is they've tested so much of this stuff already. If it's up on their platform, it's because it works. So then they're saving you the trouble of needing to do that testing. Just a little bit of last tactical advice here. It's definitely a lot of upfront work, but I would encourage everybody, because it'll save you a ton of time in the moment, just kind of plan everything or as much as you can ahead, draft as much content as you can ahead of time, and just assign out publication dates. Select your one. I guess there's the national hashtag, but if you're going to use one additional one, I would really only stick to those two and use them in everything. I would also encourage everyone, as you're doing fundraising asks, to mix in, I'm calling it here a volunteer ask, but it's really just an extra thing to add accessibility. Not everyone can give, but they might be willing to get involved. So you don't want people to get discouraged that if they can't give you 10 to 20 bucks that they can't be a part of the org. So just once during the course of the whole week, I would encourage you to, we're having a big volunteer day on the Thursday, or hey, if you can't give, that's cool. You could sign up to become a volunteer. Something like that that just also highlights the work but gives people a chance to become part of it. They become your brand champions. Maybe they're willing to just post stuff on social media on your behalf. Those are easy lifts that just show it's not all about the money, even though money is important. And I'll just also say that in my experience working with groups, even huge groups, Wilderness Society, Komen, whenever they're doing a big fundraising push, there's almost always one volunteer or advocacy only piece that's connected. Just, they kind of found that lifts the donation amounts across the board because people see what the work really is. I think one more thing I would encourage you, don't just post this stuff, monitor the social posts. People are going to comment on these posts. They might have questions. How can I get involved? What's the money going to? How many people? And, it's a lot of work. I would just say to make it manageable, just sort of say once a day, either in the morning or the evening, check the posts and answer any kind of important questions. Some people might just be encouraging or say something nice, and you don't have to respond to that. But if there are key questions, I would. Or the unfortunate reality, sometimes people say inappropriate things, and we want to delete those things. So it's just a little tip there, to try and schedule that in. And then, kind of as Tyler mentioned, close the loop. Make sure you're thanking your donors. After the campaign is over, I would post something up that's like, thanks so much for your help. We had X number of donors help us raise X dollars, and it's going to help us do X, and, we can't thank you enough. just doing those little touches just primes you up for the next year or the next push. I won't really have to go through this. I just included this in case it's helpful, just to say that, a production calendar doesn't have to be fancy. This is just a table in PowerPoint. It can be a Google Doc, but it'll just keep you a little bit organized and honest when there's a lot going on. So if, to the extent that's helpful, it's there. And then, like I said, some helpful resources. I think some organizations that do fundraising well, if you want to check them out. But again, imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. So I do it all the time, and I definitely encourage you guys to do it too. So that is what I have. I just, like I said, wanted to make it quick, but I'm happy to take questions.
Great, thank you so much. So I'm going to unmute everyone for questions unless there's that background noise, then I'm going to mute everyone again, but you can also always type your questions in the chat box. So you guys are unmuted if anyone has any questions. Well, I do have a question, actually. So Justin, do you have any advice for kind of like the best way to approach someone if you want to ask them to share their story, just to make sure that they feel comfortable and stuff?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think it's better done a little bit person to person. It doesn't have to be in person, but I mean over the phone if you can, than it is via email, or not that that's bad. I think it's just to, one, be a little sensitive, especially if people are the recipient of the help. Sometimes, I think don't necessarily want to draw attention to that. So I think it's important to say, look, when we personalize this, we get, a big bump in fundraising, and that helps us help more families. Would you be willing to let us share, just a little bit about how this has helped you? Give them, I'd say give them options, We'd love to include your photo, but we don't have to. We'll just include your first name and last initial, so it's not really identifying. Give them layers of participation. Make sure that they sign off on whatever you type up, just so that they feel comfortable throughout. And just have a long list. You only need a couple of people, and a lot of people are probably going to say no, but those would be my top tips.
Great, thank you. Any other questions? Okay, I have one more. What do you think about thanking people on social media? Like if you know their Twitter handle or something like that, do you kind of encourage that? Do you find it to be beneficial?
That is a great question. I think it's good. I wouldn't include amounts. I wouldn't say at so-and-so, thanks for giving us $50. But I do think that you can keep it a little more general, like thanks for supporting our campaign, and then a link like, anyone else who wants to join whoever in helping, click here. I think that's a good touch. But I would just always be a little bit sensitive to sharing anything that's like personal, like donation amounts, things like that.
Great. And then, here we go. So we just got someone submitted a question in the chat box. Do you have any suggestions for the appropriate number of pictures to use? Like on Razoo, for example, like is like 10 too many, or should it just be like 1 to 2? Or
I'm not super familiar with how the Razoo works. So I don't know, is it like a slideshow sort of function, or does it all just live up?
So it's just kind of like a website. It's like a landing page.
Then I would keep it on the lower side. I would find your 2 to 4 best photos and have those up there. It's not necessarily a bad idea to rotate them out. Nothing is static digital. So if you have, a couple you really like, and a few days later to swap them out. I think once you have a bunch up there, it becomes distracting from the ask. So I would really keep it to the 1, 2, 3, something like that, that really highlights the campaign, and then make sure that the opportunity to donate is right up in front of people's eyes.
Right, definitely, that's a good point. And to the person who asked that question, if you're like ever debating between pictures, like Justin said, I think it's a really great idea to rotate them, but also you can reserve some of those pictures for social media and post them with a link to your page that way too. So I have one more question for you, Justin.
Yeah,
so since this is a week-long competition, it's Friday to Friday, and I know sometimes it can be really exciting at the start of the competition, and then maybe the buzz of it can kind of die down a little bit, maybe in the middle of the competition. Do you have any suggestions about how to keep your audiences engaged and like motivated in midweek, like maybe on that Tuesday or Wednesday before the competition ends?
Yeah, that's a great question. Actually, I think it's something you said that would be one of my key pieces of advice is having a goal that's public and being able to circle back and say, hey, we are only $1,000 short of our goal. And when it comes to the goals, I would set them as lofty but realistic. So, you guys have to figure out what you think you can reasonably raise. But, if you think that you can raise $2,000, then I might set my goal, my public goal, at 1,500. So when you hit it and you get past it, you can really kind of like, oh my God, I can't believe the response. So we're setting a new goal because this has just gone crazy. Now we think, help us get to 2,000, whatever it is. I think those are great ways to keep people involved. I also think just mixing the content. So I agree with, at least post at least one per day on Facebook and Twitter. I don't really know that you need to be on any other channels for this. If you can do more than one post a day, I think that's okay. But just, I would mix it up. So if you're doing a personal story one day and you have like a goal-focused post another, so that people don't feel like they've seen that post already, that when the new post comes up, it feels a little bit different. Those are other ways to just kind of keep the momentum going.
Great, thank you so much. So if anyone has any other questions for Justin, you can ask them now or type them in the chat box. You can also email me, and I can pass them on to him. And I'll make sure to send out his PowerPoint after this so you guys can look at everything and click on some of those resources. So if there aren't any other questions, thank you, Justin, again, so much.
Yeah, it's absolutely my pleasure. Good luck, everybody. It's an awesome campaign.
Thank you. So now we're going to hear from some of our campus kitchens. So Jenny, if you're unmuted, so if you want to go ahead and Jenny's she's a kitchen coordinator and program manager at St. Louis University, which is a nationally staffed school. And she's just going to share some kind of tips for success for Raise the Dough.
All right, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, great. So with Raise the Dough, it's different than a lot of the fundraisers you might do at your university because it is online. So the main thing I would say to kitchens is don't expect to just put it on your Facebook page and tweet about it and expect the money to come rolling in. I mean, that is a good start. You do need to do those things. But I really think the key is engaging either your leadership team or your core volunteers, your shift leaders. And you think, well, they give so much to the kitchen already. How are we going to start asking them for money as well? And it's not really about asking them for money, although, if they can spare a little bit, that's great to get them involved that way. But it's kind of getting them interested and invested and getting them to start spreading the word. People really guard their Facebook pages and their Twitter accounts. They don't just want to slap anything on there and drown people with all of the asks. I think it's overwhelming. There's just a lot of asks out there. So people who really consider Campus Kitchen to be a big part of their identity, they're the ones that are going to push it out to their networks, to their family, their friends. So, asking them, your core, say, hey guys, can you spread this on your networks? And also, send an email to maybe your grandparents aren't on Twitter, but they care about what you're doing at school. Tell your parents and ask them to each send 2 people an email or something like that, or invite, personally invite a couple people to be involved in the campaign. And even if it's not a lot of money, if they're like, oh, I hate asking for money, my parents give me so much already, you say, hey, Mom and Dad, you don't have to give money, but can you share this in your networks? Just trying to get the word out. So that's important, and just telling your leadership team or your core volunteers, getting some of them involved in a deeper way. Also, instead of just sending it out to them, doing something at the beginning to kind of get everybody excited, I find to be a lot more effective. And we've done a bake sale here at SLU, and we don't make that much from it, maybe $200, and then we have somebody that will take that cash, put it on a credit card, so it turns into an online donation, and that's like our first donation to kick things off. I think that it's important to do because it draws attention to what you're doing. It gets people engaged in the competition. Sometimes if we're selling baked goods, we put a little sticker on it that says, hey, check out our Facebook page. We're in a competition this week. It's only this long. I know different places have done a YouTube video, a pancake breakfast, just set something to get your core again engaged rather than just sending them an email that doesn't, something to get them excited. I find that to be really effective. As far as the competition side of things, you look at those amounts that were flashed up at the beginning, $12,000, or whoever won last year, you think, oh my gosh, it's our first year, it's not a realistic goal for us. We don't want to just put it on there and set ourselves up for disappointment. So doing something like a targeted competition, look at another school in the network that's doing it. If they're close to you geographically, maybe they're a sports rival, maybe they're in the same conference as you, maybe they're a kitchen that started at the same time as you. Talk to them and say, hey, let's just have a competition, a mini competition within the larger one, so we can tweet at each other every day and snack talk and get people that go to our school interested, and that we actually have a fighting chance. Maybe not in the overall, maybe now we're not gonna make $12,000, but we still have a mini competition going. If we win, then we have to send them, or they have to wear a sweatshirt with our school's name on it, or something like that, just to kind of get things interesting, keep things interesting every day. Or maybe you can't find another school to do that with, but setting a specific goal. Hey, we need a new fridge. The fridge costs $500. And then keeping on that and beating that drum every day. Hey, we're halfway to our new fridge. We really need this to keep our food, keep feeding people on a daily basis. So that's what I would say. Just make it as tangible as possible. Even if it's like a $10 donation will feed 3 meals. Just keep it as tangible as possible, both to your core of people on your campus that are working on this campaign, and to your donors and volunteers. So those are kind of my first ideas.
Great. Thank you so much, Jenny. That was really helpful. Eric, if you want to go ahead and share too, and then I think we'll have time for some questions, and people can ask you guys both things, or can ask general questions if you both want to answer. So whenever you're ready, Eric, go ahead.
All right. Well, thank you for that. That was pretty comprehensive, actually, what you presented on. So I just have 5 little things that I jotted down. Before. They're practical things. I don't know if they'll be helpful, but number one, our school is about 2,200 undergrad, total about 3,500 at St. Peter's, and we were able to, you talked about kind of rivalries and things like that. I did class wars and penny wars. Penny wars, if people are familiar with, it's just basically, you donate, you lose change. I think a penny adds to the score, a nickel, dime, quarter, dollar takes away. So you put pennies in your own, and then you sabotage the other classes. But in the past, it's worked. We've ended up with about $700. And what I did was, we deposit it in, you find an office that's willing to deposit the money in an account, and then you basically just cut a check, or somebody uses their credit card to purchase it on purchase or donate on Razoo. So there are kind of little ways to get around that. We also did, you know, some of the offices have a lot of giveaways that, or T-shirts or things like that, that they might be willing to sell for like a donation. I know that another group on campus recently was trying to raise money to get a new mascot costume, and what they did was they bought a bunch of T-shirts with budget money from student activities, sold them for like $4, ended up raising a lot of money because the T-shirts were a budget expense, and then any money raised went directly to that fund, and again, it was an online funding thing. So there are different ways to do that, with different possibilities there. I would definitely engage everyone on campus, including other offices, in particular the Office of Advancement or the alumni engagement. They were really super supportive for us last year when we were doing Raise the Dough, and they have, you know, it's nice for students and staff and faculty to obviously to get involved and share on their own social medias, but some of the universities, you know, I know St. Peter's University's alumni Facebook has, you know, a couple thousand people who are following or who are friends or things like that. So when they choose, well, you know, if you can get them on board, they often can really get a fair number of people to donate that way. We also, I went out to, with students, we went out to churches and reached out to some corporate groups. And they actually, some of them have those matching, they have like a matching policy where, you know, if they donate a certain amount, their company will match it. So if the individual donates 100, the company matches that. And a lot of the churches that we went to were willing to, you know, like they did collections for the campus kitchen. Again, when I'm talking about a lot of different things that you end up with cash in your hand. But for me, it was easier because what I did was, and, you know, other people can do this, you know, you take the $650 cash and then you put $650 on your credit card. So, you know, you kind of bypass the problem of having cash in your hands. I hope that's legitimate. I hope that's legal. I hope, well, look into that. check with your administrators on that one. I think it's fine. I think it's not a problem, but, and then, I believe other people have already mentioned this, that you certainly want to say what each dollar can get. We just did a crowdfunding thing for the campus kitchen, and so we kind of took a look at what each dollar might get us and posted that, or kind of let people know, which it seemed to work. I mean, hopefully it did. And that's about it. And I would only say, you know, last year when I started, I guessed I did not expect to get much support. I was very nervous about even asking people for money. But, you know, you can get people to really rally around you. If you can get other groups involved, student organizations, teams, departments on campus, if you can kind of get everybody on board, you know, I think, you know, you'll be successful no matter what. So that's all the advice I got.
Great. Thank you so much. That was really helpful. And if any of you have questions, go ahead and ask them now, or type them in the chat box. Like I mean, I have a couple questions, but I'd love to hear from you guys and see if any of you have questions. So I can ask one to get us started. Do you, Eric or Jenny, have any kind of like suggestions for how to get over that initial nervousness or awkwardness about asking for a donation, because I think a lot of people feel uncomfortable with that. And so did you find anything to be specifically helpful in the past when you've been asking for donations?
I would only say I went directly to the people who do this for a living. Like I said, the Office of Advancement, Alumni Engagement. You set up a meeting with them, and they really kind of help you understand. You're not going to become a professional at it, but they kind of give you some ideas and point you in the right direction. They also, again, this is what they do for a living, like I said. So they often might have ideas. They might have donors they want to kind of take a look at. So they were the best resource, at least in my mind. And no matter what, I guess I don't know. I think throughout the process I was nervous, and then I got really competitive. And and oh, the other thing I forgot to mention: see if you can't. I know this sounds ridiculous, but see if you can't get some people on campus to do ridiculous things if you reach certain goals. I told people that I dressed like Steve the Pirate from Dodgeball, and we got a lot of donations. I don't know why people wanted to see that, but they wanted to see that. So if reach out to other people as well, if and ask, and see if you can get people on board again to do even silly things like that.
Yeah, very helpful. Thank you. So do you guys have any recommendations for some other ways to reach out to people? Just reading a question that I got. Like any kind of other in-person events that you'd recommend? I know, Jenny, you said Bake Sale, and Eric, you said Penny Wars, but have you found anything else to be successful? Maybe that you've done for other events that could transfer?
I have one example from a school, a smaller school. They actually just wanted a fridge, and so they made a big cardboard fridge. They made like fruit and food out of construction paper. And they said, like, this one, you want to buy these grapes, they're $1. This hamburgers, $5 donation. It's just kind of like a fun thing, tangible. They stood out in the quad. People came up to them and talked to them. So really anything, again, that's like tangible, because you're right, there's just a ton of people asking for money, especially these online asks where people don't really have to give anything to ask. They can just throw it on, but anything that people see that you're going out of your way to do something, I think people respond to that, even though it's online, if you can do things in person. I do think that helps to get the ball rolling at least. And then from there, hopefully it will catch fire and, become a competition. That would be my thought.
Definitely. And I know, just to add to that in the past, sometimes people they might have an in-person event, but maybe they'll bring a computer with the Razoo page open and, can have people enter their credit cards and donate right then and there too.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, this is Linda Bobroff at the University of Florida. Our department student club did a fundraiser out on the plaza where everybody walks by, and they had some of the faculty out there and staff, and you could pay, I think it was $1 or $2 to pie the person in the face. Whipped cream and little aluminum pie plates, and they put sprayed the pie plates with the whipped cream, and you could buy it and then pie the person with payment. So that was a lot of fun, and that was just, we were out there for about, I don't know, just an hour or two, and they raised, I don't know how much they raised, but they raised quite a bit for being out there just for a couple of hours. So that was fun.
Yeah, that's great. That's a really good idea, and it's really fun too. So that's another like great aspect of this, is it can be really, really fun.
And it's sort of food related, but not.
Yeah, exactly. Any other questions? I know you guys have been on here a while. I just have one more for Jenny and Eric. Eric, I know you touched on this a little bit. It sounds like your school and the alums were really helpful, but did you guys find any specific audiences that you reached out to, maybe like more likely to donate or that were really easy to approach? Just kind of like a good starting place for students in Campus Kitchens who haven't done this before.
If they can get on there, most universities have like a daily email newsletter that go out to faculty and staff. I just think drawing attention to the fact if you can get on there, that that people like to support something that's going on at their university. That's an organization helping people, and then beyond that, family and friends of our volunteers and our students.
Great.
I don't know. Aside from, I guess, alumni are important. Some of the, but again, like, you talk to alumni engagement, they'll help out. Some of the older donors, or some of the older people related to the university, whether it's, I'm specifically talking about alumni, they were very intrigued, at least at St. Peter's, by this, and so we got to talk, not just for the Raise the Dough, but at different times to try to get money. We've talked at kind of like alumni weekends, had students, myself, kind of be there, kind of talk to them about it, have like a little table where they could find information, and they often, and that's actually often where we get a fair amount of donations, is from the older alumni. So I would certainly say, just reiterate to keep with advancement. I understand also. I also understand that if you are a very large university, it's difficult to get in contact with the people in charge of advancement and alumni engagement. But take a shot, see if you can't. It's a pretty good possibility.
Great. Yeah. It was very helpful. Thank you. Well, thank you so much, Jenny and Eric, for sharing. That was really helpful, and I'm sure everyone else.
First in the United States. Visit Troy.
Okay. So we're going to wrap up here. Thank you so much for everyone for staying on. I know this was a little bit longer. So if you have any questions or concerns about Raise the Dough, go ahead and email me. This is my email address up here. You can also contact your PM, and they can answer any questions you have, and especially the MOU if you're worried about not getting it in time, because that is the first step to being able to participate in Raise the Dough. Don't hesitate to reach out and contact me, and we'll work together and figure out a good timeline. So thank you so much, everyone, for listening today, and I'm going to be sending this and the MOU out soon, and good luck, and I will talk to everyone later.